windy.
I made it. I survived the windstorm. That was a shot from my wife and I hiking the 50-mile Three Sisters Loop outside of Bend, Oregon. Really awesome backpacking trail. And when I got these, I knew these were going to be my shoe of choice for that hike. But I also want to tell you today why this is also my go-to everyday trail runner shoe as well. Let's dive into the Altra Superior 4.5. Coach Nate here with you as always. Hey, remember, it's not all about the shoes and the gear, although the shoes and gear are pretty important, which is why we do reviews pretty regularly. We also drop videos on strength training, mobility, run form, as well as tips to keep running fun. So make sure you subscribe to our channel. It's that button right down here. Now, getting into the Superior 4.5, this low cushioned shoe weighs in at 8.4 ounces in a size 9. It has a 19 millimeter stack height, and it's zero drop, so it means 19 millimeters in the heel and the forefoot, which, especially given the market of today's shoes running in 22, 25 to 30 millimeter stack height shoes, this is definitely on the low drop range. It has a nice springy Quantic midsole from Altra, a sticky rubber outsole with lugs that are positioned right underneath your metatarsals for just the right amount of grip where you need it. Stone guard inserts. Look at this, huh? Throw these in your shoes if you're dealing with particularly rocky, difficult terrain, and other little fun details from Altra. You've got a little gaiter attachment that you can hook to your shoes. This little hook up here in front and this here in the back, which really makes this a pretty awesome, versatile trail running shoe. So, first impressions running in this shoe. Well, I gotta first say, it ain't my first rodeo in a pair of Altras or even the Superiors. I ran in the pair of 4.0s. In fact, it was the Superiors and the Lone Peaks that really made me fall in love with Altra because I just put the shoe on and it just felt really good. You know, that idea, that notion that comfort is such a key driver of whether or not the shoe's good for you. Well, these have just been super comfortable to me because I just really love that wider toe box, that forefoot. But more specifically to this shoe in general, I love the updated colorway. The little mountain design's pretty rad. In fact, I'm pretty sure this is a little mountain that I climbed over the other day. Really nice grippy laces, things that you don't always notice. Sometimes slippery laces that get untied a lot are a bummer. I love the update. This isn't this update from this design, but from previous ones where the tongue is like part of the upper, and you just sort of have this section right here on the side. So this tongue just doesn't move around. Like, I just love that. Feels super comfortable. Definitely secure on the forefoot of my foot. I got big fat feet, so I don't have any problems with this thing swimming around. And you know, good grippy outsole. So all in all, great first impressions of this shoe. It is a low drop shoe, and that does impact how it feels when you're running, which I will get to next. So bear with me here. There's two different ways running companies can make a shoe feel responsive. One, it's the type of EVA foam that they pump into the midsole that inevitably gets impacted, and it goes from feeling responsive at one point to not feeling very responsive at all. Or they could still pump some good quality EVA foam in there, but just not use that much of it, which means that you get the double feel of just responsiveness from the foam, which because it's thinner, it doesn't get as impacted as much and tends to last a lot longer. And you actually get the responsiveness of your feet because your feet are that much closer to the ground. And that's one of the reasons why I love this shoe. It's light, it's responsive, you can feel the ground. I feel like I'm strengthening my feet. I'm more aware of where I'm stepping, which, call me crazy, I think is a good thing when we're running on the trails. We don't try to run over every tree root and rock, and we step a little bit more lightly and a little bit more warily. So I like this shoe a lot in those respects. Other favorite things that stood out was just, it's great on switchbacks, like quick turning, change of directions, things like that. And overall grippy for most conditions. Like, look, I'm in California. It is September as I shoot this, so this is like our peak dryness. So we're not dealing with heavy mud, but just kind of like usually baked clay trails, which is not a problem, but occasionally we'll go to spots that's like sandy or really gravelly. And you know, that's one spot where I'm like, okay, the traction on this, if it's like really sandy and loose, like I don't get a ton of grip here. And I would also say if I'm in like really thick, heavy mud, I would want something a little bit more. But for all of those cons, there's also a pro. Like if I am running to a trailhead on the pavement and I have, you know, a mile or two on the pavement, this doesn't feel like I'm running on soccer cleats. Like I can actually run fine with them, and they don't feel like I'm excessively wearing them down by being on the pavement. Now, I want to talk specifically about hiking in them and why I find them to be so good for that in this next section. Last summer, my wife and I hiked the Tour Mont Blanc. It's about 113 miles. We did it over, I want to say 8 or 9 days. And it was gnarly. A lot of up, a lot of down, in and out of snow. And I chose the Lone Peak for that shoe, which in some respects I really liked, but if I were to do it again, I would do it with the Superior. And the reason why is I don't need that much cushioning when I'm hiking. And in fact, when I'm in a higher cushy shoe, I feel like my every footfall is a little spongier and softer, because think about it, when you run, you kind of hit the ground and you're immediately off. But as I roll through, my foot's on the ground a lot longer. If I'm on a higher stack height shoe, this thing's swimming around a little bit more. And my tendency to roll my ankle if I'm tired or trip or stumble is that much higher. So I chose the Superior for my 50-mile hike, and I didn't trip or stumble at all. I just felt really good. I didn't feel like my feet or ankles were collapsing when I get tired, which is sometimes an issue with me. So I found this not only great for my day-to-day runs, not necessarily ultra length runs, but also my hikes, because it has all those benefits. At $109.95, I find this shoe to be tremendously value, especially because it's so good for that everyday trail running shoe. I wouldn't necessarily use it for my long 2+ hour, 3+ hour ultra trail runs, but if I'm running, you know, 30, 60, 90 minutes, I think this shoe's great. And or a shoe that rotate into the quiver. For those of you guys who are racing and doing shorter distance trail runs, I think this is perfect too. And plus, it's super durable. You're gonna get a ton of life out of it. Proof in point, here are my 4.0s. And as you can tell, like the upper of these things are like totally fine. I've beat the snot out of these things for the last 1.5 years. The only thing I've started to see wear, as you would expect a trail shoe, is just the tread to start to wear down a little bit. But I still hike in these things regularly. They're my dog walking shoes now. A great, great deal. The only real con that some people might talk about with this shoe is like, oh, well, it's not a lot of cushioning and support. And to me, there's an opposite pro to that. One, as I've mentioned before, you're lower to the ground. You've that opportunity to strengthen your feet, less likely to roll your ankle, which I think are really beneficial. Plus, you can always throw the rock guards in if you need that little bit of additional support and you find that maybe the higher cushion shoes are too much for you. The other thing I saw online, some people mentioned and were complaining that the sizing for the 4.5s was not the same as the Superior 4.0s. In fact, for the 4.5s, they noticed that the shoe felt half a size smaller than the previous ones did. I literally lined up my 4.5s and my 4s. Like I put both my right feet in the right shoes, my left in my left shoes, and I tried to measure my big toe to the front, and I really couldn't find any difference. So I don't know if some people just got a weird batch of shoes. Something to think about. If you're curious about ultra running shoes though in general and getting into that zero drop frame of mind, well, I've done a series of videos that are starting to play over my shoulder right here, and it's really, really helpful because when you go into a zero drop shoe, we want to do it gradually. We need to start addressing our ankle range of motion, and we need to start strengthening our feet as well as focus on run technique. And I show you all that and more right here. Hope you enjoyed this review. Go ahead and click the link below this video and you can shop from our very good friends at Running Warehouse. Super comprehensive, detailed website. They are fantastic. Otherwise, I will keep shooting and filming. You keep earning those miles. I'll see you in the next video.